Before the bass go into full-on spawn mode, they start staging up in the dead-end canals of the Atchafalaya. On a frigid day in January, Greg Hackney headed out to the basin to target pre-spawners.
Fish are, not as easy to catch when the water's cold. And I'm talking about bass more so than anything else. But when I say this, the colder the water, the clearer I want it. Because the deal is, what happens in cold water, their strike zone is not as big. Well, you go put dirty water in there and then you hardly have any strike zone, without just banging them right on the head. And it seems to be a point where they seem to be, when the water's really cold, they're more visible feeders then. And so those dirty water fish just seem to shut down, so when the water's cold, I definitely don't want it any dirtier than what it is now. It's really what I call just good fishing water. You can see, maybe a foot and a half deep. It's just got that real pretty green color to it. Basically this is a straight king rodent. This is a watermelon red. I got a 6/0 hack attack hook because I'm using braid. I like a big heavy hook because some of these fish are going to be in heavy cover, and you're dealing with a shoe pick. I mean, I don't want my tackle to get beat up. That's a 1/4 ounce slip sinker, which you can go lighter than that, but there's just enough cover in here. I want that bait to be able to go through it, but not very fast. So that's the reason I've opted for the 1/4 ounce. And basically, that's just a crawfish imitation. That's what I'm trying to imitate with that. And we're just cypress trees, stumps, little patches of floating grass. Just, the fish are on the visible stuff. Another one about the same size. I think what'll happen before the day's over, like right now, I've really slowed down to a to a snail's pace, but as it, the water still hasn't changed at all. It gets a little later, we're gonna end up catching them winding and moving, and they'll get more aggressive. Come on now, come on, get him in here. Come on, get him in here. Pretty sure. In the roof of the mouth. Nice fish. They don't seem to be, in the thick, in the lilies. They seem to be out front, just on wood, little scattered patches of grass that are out just a little bit deeper. But it seems the main deal is it's just the fish dead slow and hit everything. You know what I'm saying? Like we're hitting every piece of cover that we come by like it's got a fish on it. Rather not if you catch one or not, but you fish in each place, like there's one there. And he strikes again. But see, another thing is, Jared, just like that last fish, it's a little old buck. We still ain't caught those females. That's just a typical male Atchafalaya basin bass. Let me see. Crawfish. Big, isn't it? Nice. Now I would say that's a good sign, but I kind of got this from Jason a while ago when he got that bite. If they bite that jig, I just kind of lean that way, so I switched over. But you can see, that's the way you want them to be hooked. Feel like that's the right deal, and I do think that's another female. We fished all the way around this while ago and never got a bite. But I mean, it's just perfect. They just had to be here, but that happens when the water's cold. It's just so much easier when they're aggressive, to be able to tell, And most people, honestly, would have already left. They'd have made a pass around, it wasn't good, it says time to go. But this time of the year, it's just hard to do that because they're so inactive when the water's, 50 degrees, and we're coming off a major cold front, that just blew through.
After some success with the rodent, Greg decided to switch over to a jig, which allowed him to fish slower and encourage even lethargic bass to bite.
Well, I switched over to a jig, a little more bulk, rage crawl trailer, which really slows down. Now I'm throwing a bigger profile bait that falls slower. This is, that's blue crawl is the color. Honestly, there's a lot of blue crawfish in the basin. I like something that's just a natural green pumpkin with a blue sheen. Another thing about that jig, I'm fishing it out a little deeper. Those better fish have kind of come away from that they kind of right out on that break a little deeper. If you'll notice on the color, most of those smaller ones that are biting up are really green, you know, darker colored. And what that means is they're closer to the light. You know, they're higher up, so their color changes. Those females are a lot whiter. They're deeper, you know, sitting out on the bottom out of way. So, I mean, I'm still fishing for both of them. You know, what I'm doing now, I'm pitching that jig up shallow on that ledge where, you know, most of those lilies and some of those shallow stumps. And then I'm crawling that jig back off out, and one of those fish I caught out in about 4 feet. Now, which you know, people think, well, 4 foot's not very deep, but it's deep here. You know, most of the cover here is less than 4 foot. Really what you got out here in about 4 foot of water are those patches of coontail. And some of those better fish, those females are on the bottom, you know, in a non-aggressive posture out there, and that jig just, you know, doing a better job of being able to fish it out there like that on that stuff. And also what you'll find is you see all these old cypress stumps and stuff, and there's all kinds of logs and stuff. A lot of that stuff you can't see, but when you're pitching around, fishing slow like that, you know, I'll find that stuff with that jig. All of a sudden you're fishing where you think it's clean, and you feel you a little piece of wood out there deeper, and that's where some of those fish are coming from. That's the reason how I'm setting. You know, I'm setting back off because now I'm fishing my bait probably, you know, 10 to 15 foot from where I'm pitching it to, out in front of it. That one was out deeper. It's another female. Another way you can tell, typically this time of the year, before they spawn, you know, you'll see some that'll just be almost solid black with those spots. And the way I understand it, typically you only see that on a female, and that is stress in their body of the eggs, you know, changing in their body, and their lateral line causes those black spots. And typically that's a good sign when I start catching those fish with those black spots, because you're catching females, you know. And you know, me being a tournament guy, you know, that's the fish you're looking for. Basically what you're looking for this time of the year is, you know, I'm looking for dead ends. Those are just, you know, not that there are not some more open places that you can catch some, but a good place to start are dead ends. And because again, typically that water's trapped in there. It's you can tell it's a few degrees warmer than most of the main drags where there are a lot of current. And this is where these fish are going to spawn. So they just have a tendency, you know, November, December, they start, you know, the dead ends start to become real productive. And then February and March, you know, without a doubt, that's the two best times to fish in them. So I just look on the map, you know, and try to find an area where, you know, there's multiple dead ends, you know, where you know, you can fish a series of them. And that's really the key. And just, you know, there's fish in every dead end in the basin. Some will just be better than others, you know. Buck bass, a red-eyed buck bass. No, but again, without a doubt, you can just tell the difference in the, you know, it seems like those females are a little bit deeper than the male fish are, you know. Most of these fish have come up there real shallow, you know, shallower, and the better ones seem to be out on a little piece of wood or something out a little deeper. The Atchafalaya Basin, a place that never ceases to amaze me. I hope you've enjoyed it today as much as we have. Join us here next time on Sportsman TV.